Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mayor.
We are going to call the May 5th Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderman Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Isaac.
Here.
Grisham.
You're muted.
You're muted, Suzette.
She's here.
You're muted, Suzette. There you go. Now.
There it
Yeah.
goes.
Haas.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Ranky.
You're muted, Rosalie.
Rosalie, you're muted too.
I'm
There we
muted.
go.
Okay,
Now you're good.
here.
Wrote.
Here.
10 present.
Okay, we have a quorum. For the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, just because of the technical limitations we have, I would ask that if you're not leading the pledge, if you can just mute yourself or mouth the words, because it gets very jumbled when we're all saying it at different paces and with different inflections and sounds really garbled on the YouTube channel. It will be led this evening by Alderman Stefanski, and some of us will try to mute or be muted, but please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So looking at item D on our agendas, we have no public hearings, so we will go right to citizen participation, which is item E on the agendas. And again, because of the technical challenges we have, we keep this on our agenda as part of our ordinances, but I would ask that if people are missing out on citizen participation, I would encourage them to contact me or their alder people with their concerns or their issues through email or phone. So we will not be holding citizen participation live tonight. Moving on to item F, our standing committees will be meeting during recess. Those will be, again, meeting virtually, and they will meet in the order listed on the agenda. I am moving to item G is the mayor's report. I do not have a mayor's report this evening. Does anybody have any reports for alderpersons?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Stefanski.
Yeah. Just wanted to report, I helped organize a parade for a little boy named Ralph who has Down syndrome in the 2nd District on Friday night. We had a very good turnout with Sheriff's Deputy Brandon Rios from the 2nd District showing up with his motorcycle. And Corporal Nelson attended with his police car, and we had somewhere between 100 and 200 motorcycles in the parade. And a truck enthusiast group joined us in the back end of the parade. So we drove past his house, waved to him, beat our horns, and revved the motorcycles and moved on. So it was a good time for him. The expressions on his face were priceless.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons reports?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council meeting of April 22nd, 2020 and April 29, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman Vitale. Is there any discussion in the sense of changes or amendments to those minutes? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
You're still muted, Suzette.
I unmuted myself. I'm not muting myself. I'm not sure how that's happening, but I.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
Rote,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. Item J is not currently referred to a committee. I will ask for a motion to refer that to the city attorney.
So moved. Second.
Bansky.
Motion by Alderman Haas, second by Alderman Vitale. All in favor?
I.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item K is standing committee reports. Alderman Vitale, I'm assuming you'll
No
just
report at this time, Mr. Mayor.
after the
After
recess.
recess, I'll report that, yes.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderperson Grisham.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? We are in recess.
All right, and I wish I had a gavel so I could gavel administration and finance to order. I'll pound on the table. And so administration and finance will come to order. All 5 members are present. And item 5 is a resolution to approve a second intergovernmental agreement with the city of Milwaukee to provide fire and emergency services for the 2020 Democratic National Convention.
Move approval.
I have
Second.
a motion from Alderman Weigel, and I heard a second from Alderman Vitale, but we need someone from the committee.
Oh, so geez.
Second.
Thank you to
Alderman
remind me.
Lysick. Thank you, though, Alderman Vitale.
Hard to break old habits.
And
I love
any
you so much,
discussion?
that's why.
I have that on record that Alderman Vitale loves me. Thank you, sir. And so any discussion on item 5? And all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And item 6 is a resolution relative to accepting the proposal for 25 additional Adobe Acrobat Pro software licenses for $9,732.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
Motion from Alderman Weigel and a second from Alderman Keene. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And item 7, we need to amend that, and the amendment is the dollar number for the good from $17,589 to $8,000. So it's a resolution relative to accepting the proposal for upgrading licenses from GI level to G3 level. I guess that's G1 level to G3 level for a 2-year term for $8,000. Can I have a motion to approve as amended?
Motion to approve as amended by Keene.
Second, Lysick.
We have a motion from Alderman Keene and a second from Alderman Lysick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And item 8 is a resolution to consider the creation of a small business restart program funded with community development block grant COVID funds. And I think Mr. Schloss, perhaps you can tell us about this?
Yes, this is,
Or maybe
you might
Mr.
recall at the
Steele.
last, good evening, this is Patrick.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. Last week, the community, or the Common Council approved the CDBG CV budget, which included $210,000 to help with small business restart program. And the idea at that point was we were looking at loans, but in review, we decided to go with grants. And also we had it at 7,500 and we modified it today down to 5,000 because we really need to reach as many businesses as we can. And we think we're going to get a number of applications. We talked to a couple of our peers in other communities, and they have received a large amount of applications and oversubscribed their grant budgets that they had. And I fully anticipate that should happen here. We have the grants that would be for 20 businesses that have 20 employees or less, or 5 or more. In the application period, we hope that would start this Friday, but the deadline of the following Friday. Gonna have a short application period, and then we'll review those applications. The businesses will have to complete an application, submit it electronically, along with some payroll information to verify their employee count, and a IRS form W-9 for the grant revenue that they would be receiving. So we made some modifications. We did a little bit more in the criteria of selection, geographic. We incorporated that in there, their impact to the community, etc. So we think we're ready to proceed with the program, subject to Common Council consideration tonight. And the guidelines have been submitted to you this afternoon, amended. Gladly answer any questions you may have.
Alderman
Mr. Chair,
Haas.
can I- Go ahead.
Yeah, Alderman Grisham, go ahead.
I was reviewing the Restart program and I'm a big fan of this. However, I would like to bring to the attention of the committee a particular profession, and actually 2 professions that are included on here, but I don't know if you're familiar with how they operate. I own a business, obviously, as a hairstylist and barber, but the way we're licensed and typically how our businesses are run is we are run as sole proprietors within businesses, as chair renters, for example. So say, for example, my salon, I am the owner of the salon, I manage my salon, I have the physical business, but I have 4 chairs in which other people come work within my business, which they're in essence basically independent contractors. I think the way that this restart is worded and guided, because we don't have employees per se, we have renters, although we still have a business that has an overhead and all the other criteria for this restart, we still would not qualify. That select group of professionals would not qualify. Typical businesses that have employees would be the bigger businesses such as cost cutters, men's hair house, things like that. So I think it really is needing to have consideration. I don't know how that could take place, but I thought I'd bring that to your attention. There's multiple dog groomers in the area that operate the same way. They're independents. They don't have employees per se, but they are legitimate small businesses that actually are suffering quite a bit. So I just wanted to bring that to the committee's attention, and maybe we can look at reconsideration or discussion as to how we can be more inclusive, if at all possible.
Okay, thank you, Alderperson Grisham.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yep, Alderman Stefanski.
Have we looked at the businesses that are the small businesses here in West Dallas? Do we have any such as restaurants or pub and grills type of thing that have more than 20 full-time employees right now?
Yes.
So they would not qualify for this grant money?
That's correct.
Why did we limit it that if it's not a franchise business, if it's a locally owned business, I think we should consider covering them in that, not limited to if they only have less than 20 employees. That's just a thought that I'm looking at, because they're a small business as well, even if they have over 20 full-time employees.
It's one of the delegate things. We were looking at some of the thresholds around the state, what our peers were doing, and a lot of communities were in the 20, somewhere at 50. There are restaurants that have multiple, staff members and caterers that have people. Many of them have laid off those staff, but there are some restaurants that would have above 20.
I just don't want to see them left out because they're a little bit over, you know, say they got 25 or 30. It's just any small businesses we have here that are not a franchise getting out of financial support from a large corporation, I think we should keep in consideration for it.
Yeah, I think we all know that we're going to have more demand than we have dollars, and more worthy folks and businesses than we can serve with the money that we have available. But it's going to be something where our staff will be making difficult choices, no doubt.
Mr. Chair.
And Alderman Lysick.
To Alderperson Grisham's point, Patrick, is what she's saying a fact that as an independent salon owner, neither she nor the independent contractors that work in her salon cannot participate in this program? Because that doesn't sound equitable to me. They're part of the people that are really being hurt, the barbers and the salon owners by this. And I think certainly they're people that we want to help as well.
It is a valid discussion point. One of the things that we looked at a lot of the programs around the state are bricks and mortar locations where they actually have a physical, they either rent a storefront or they have a building that they currently own and occupy. If you rent a chair, you necessarily don't have that physical presence. It is a valid industry and small business, yes, but we were trying to have those that had a strong presence, more than, a physical storefront, be assisted versus that. We could have many individual contractors then apply.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
We'll go with Alderperson Grisham and then the second person who I heard. I think that's
that was
Alderperson
me.
Keen. Okay.
This is directed for Patrick, actually. Now, take my business as an example. It is brick and mortar. I am the one who pays the overhead. And yes, I do have renters. I'm not saying completely be inclusive to every independent contractor, but those of us that do have that physical property, because we are the small business. Renters can come and go, but I am there to stay regardless if I have one or I have 4 renters in there. And many salons do operate like that, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So the actual owners of the salon doing business as brick and mortars should not be excluded. And we are, and they are going to be excluded. Same as, I'll give you an example, Diamond's Pet Spa. She moved her business from Wauwatosa here to West Dallas. She is a 1-person operation, but she has an overhead. And she's going to lose her business in 3rd District because she doesn't have that support. So I really would like reconsideration on that aspect of it.
We definitely could amend the program to make that change. It just, again, like Alderman Haas mentioned, we have limited resources and
Understandable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll take all those applications into consideration. If
Okay,
the council so far amends the program.
Okay. And I would strongly recommend that we take consideration to amend that. I would like that.
And before we go to
Mr. Chair.
Alderperson Keen, or is that Attorney Decker? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So far, my understanding is that based on what Mr. Schloss said before, the number from 7,000 to 500 would be reduced to 5,000. And then this notion of the only thing I think that restricts is that there's a requirement to retain 1 full-time employee. That would be the restriction that was mentioned by the prior speaker. And so if there's a more specific type of amendment to be made, it still could be passed tonight with that amendment. Otherwise, it would have to be referred back to staff and brought back later. Given that timing of this is probably a factor, I'm willing to try to work an amendment in tonight. If the council can agree on a concept, I'll try to draft something quick.
Okay. I'd like to hear from Alderperson Keen, who's been waiting patiently, and then I'd like to go back to Alderperson Grisham's amendment or proposed amendment.
I had a question regarding what Kale had brought up regarding retain one full-time employee. So with the one stipulation that they have to have at least 5 employees, so if it was a small business and owner does most of the work, they do have at least one full-time employee, but not 5, would they be excluded from this?
So you might recall when we did the budget last week, we actually approved 2 programs. One was this funding of 210,000 to do the loan program, which tonight we're discussing as the grant. And then we did another pot of money that would be provided as a subcontract or so to WIBIC, Wisconsin Women's Business Initiative. And that funding there's a HUD definition called micro enterprise, which is defined as 5 employees or less. And they could work with WIBIC to get work towards getting a grant. We're providing them the money to administer the grant program for micro enterprise. Anything with more than 5 employees and less than 20, that is the grouping that city staff would administer. So that grant program. So the big thing with CDBG CV funds, it has to create a job for a low to moderate income person or retain a job. That's the main premise of the program. So it's not necessarily a business assistance program as it is a job retention or creation program. And that's defined per HUD. So we're staying within the federal statutes with that funding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then going back to Alderperson Grisham's proposed amendment, we don't have an amendment on the floor yet. Let's see if we can try and craft one together. And Attorney Decker, can you give us some language that perhaps Alderperson Grisham can would be favorable with and can make a motion for an amendment?
So we are butting up.
Point of order.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Lysick.
Alderperson Grisham, I just would like to ask a question. Do you have any intention of applying for this type of a grant? Because if you do, I think you would have to recuse yourself from any discussion on this issue. Am I correct?
Yes, I would need to, and that was going to be a point that I was going to bring up. In the best interest of the community, I would not apply because I would want others to apply, but I could recuse myself from this just as well.
No, you don't have to recuse yourself if you're not going to apply. I just wanted to make sure that everything was appropriate. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it would be fair, and I think that would show favoritism as an alderperson applying for this particular program, although I could use it as well. But thank you for bringing that point.
Yeah, and on that point too, I think I'll look to someone other than Alderperson Grisham to bring an amendment forward after we hear from Attorney Decker.
So we are running into the HUD restrictions for CDBG money, as Patrick mentioned. Unfortunately, those federal regulations are so complicated that the general rule of retaining or hiring one low to moderate income employee might be something that would prevent us from actually amending and removing the single employee retention requirement here. So I'm trying to think of a way to do that. I'm searching it right now. I don't know if Patrick has any thoughts or suggestions, or if it needs to be a employee in this case.
The owner can be considered an employee. So
Okay.
I mean, WIBIC and how they administer it, and they're going to be listening to us for guidance. But I mean, we did put $50,000 aside to do micro enterprise assistance. So that's where I could see the small 1 or 2 employee businesses working. And they also have additional resources too, WIBIC.
So then what the committee will have to do is consider whether they want to change the terms of this particular funding source to apply to what is also a WIBIC funded source, or if you want to keep it separate. And actually, Patrick, again, I don't have the federal language in front of me, and you deal with it a lot more regularly than I do. So as currently worded, where it says must retain or create 1 or more full-time employees, does that mean that the example Alderperson Grisham brought up is going to be an eligible applicant without an amendment to this policy?
I mean, a single one employee, we left it open if they wanted to apply for our program. We just left it open because maybe Wivic can't work with that client, or there's some conflict of interest or something there that might not work. But technically the 5 to 20 is where that business that we would like to be looking at. So they would have to add one full-time job or retain one full-time job to be able to be eligible for the grant.
Well,
And on the form, I have the income requirements too, of what defines a low to moderate income individual.
if that is the case, then the current language should still allow someone who's in that position of being
Right.
as an independent contractor operating in the city at a brick and mortar location to still at least apply for this type of grant. Again, I want to go back to the federal code, and unfortunately, I just don't know it well enough off the top of my head to ensure that. But it sounds like based on the description, we would not need to make an amendment to have those folks be eligible for this program. But there also might be other programs they're eligible for as well.
Okay. And Alderman Vitale, I know you want to be
Yes,
recognized.
yes.
Just one moment, please, though, just while we're on this point. It looks like we can get to what Alderperson Grisham is looking for without an amendment and with approving this as is, but with staff's understanding, if that isn't the case, then please bring it back to us and then we can take further action in the future.
Will do.
Does that sound acceptable to everyone and staff?
Mhm.
Okay. And Alderman Vitale, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. The fact that is that throughout the years, I mean, myself, I've been with the block grant committee. I mean, many times it's been on a table, like questions, but always based on the staff and based on Patrick. Always you have to provide an employee. You have to have somebody besides yourself to be able to get a grant. As far as I know, always been, I think, within the rules of the program that we always been implementing. I think the city have done a great job in regard to that. So if there's any other solutions of which I'm not aware, but at this point, I mean, I know for a fact that you have to provide an additional body for you to get any money, Thank you.
Just for clarity, it can include the owner, just for the record. A loan, our loans can include the owner as the employee.
Mr. Chair,
Alderperson Grisham.
relative to what Alderman Vitale just touched point on, I want to bring to your attention too. I, as a business owner, may not employ, but I create jobs in the community. We create jobs in the community. So if I have a 5 to 10 chair operation, for example, I'm still providing a space for people to be employed. Maybe not under my employ, but they have employment and self-employment at that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that it does create jobs, having a storefront, a brick and mortar like mine.
Okay.
Point well taken.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Alderperson Reinke.
thank you. Could you tell me, Patrick, who sets the guidelines or the terms for this restart program funding?
I mean, staff drafted them and they're submitting them here for council to approve the guidelines.
I see. So our staff
Yes.
creates the
But
terms.
we have to stay within the federal rules that relate to the use of the actual funding source.
I see. But I certainly support Alderman Grisham's proposal.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Lysick.
I move for adoption of the resolution.
Second, Tenario.
We have a motion from Alderman Lysick and a second from Alderman Tenario. Any further discussion? All in favor, say
Mr.
aye.
Chair,
Oh,
Aye.
wait.
I don't get to say aye.
just want to
Okay.
clarify, the amendment was still made from 7,500 to 5,000, just for the record, so that everyone
Yes.
understands it as they're voting.
Okay. All right. And so we gave the ayes a chance, and any opposed? All right, then that motion passes. Item 8 passes. And then moving on to item 9, a resolution to approve actions to assist in mitigating the budget impacts and loss of revenue due to COVID-19. I think Ms. Grill, this is for you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I did send out an attachment regarding some possible mitigation strategies for the loss of revenue and increased costs related to COVID-19. But before I got into that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the increased cost and the expected loss of revenue. We've had all of the departments have gone in and we've tried to estimate what we think where we are right now and some possible losses in the next few months. And I'll just go over a few of them. But from what we have right now, it's about $1 million. 240,000 of that is redirected costs. So the actual right now is 785,000, almost 786,000. There's a number of things that aren't filled in either. Maybe I can share my screen here. Let's see. And just so you know, these are very rough estimates. Can everyone see my screen with the cost here, the yellow on the right side? Yes? Okay.
Yes, we can see it now.
Thank you. So you'll see here, there's various, we have the departments listed and then the dates and what they are. So we have emergency responder overtime, PPE, extra staffing. We had to buy an air compressor, sanitizing our polling location. I haven't even gotten to that, or the additional poll worker costs because we did the in-person or we did the drive-through absentee ballots. We have Zoom meeting subscriptions, cloth masks, meals, loading zones, a lot of different extra staff costs, scanners so people can work from home, sneeze guards, headsets, computers for people from work from home, speakers, more cleaning supplies and labor. Then these are future expenditures that we're going to possibly be seeing. Obviously not an all-inclusive list since there's only 5 things listed here, but supplies, sanitation, labor, and election expenses. So the first was a little bit over $500,000, but 240,000 of that was reallocated staff time. This is about 67,000. Then you get into the lost revenues. The CPAT training is canceled. Room tax is going to be going down, possibly franchise fees. The shared revenue likely won't decrease this year, but possibly next year. Court fines, there's grant programs that we're not sure about right now. The school resource officers, I'm not sure what that's going to look like since they haven't been at the school since they've been closed. Construction permits, fines at the library, drop-off sites, late fees, interest payments, and other fees for permits. Then other future revenues, these two are kind of mixed together, but that was 166,000. Then we have the room tax and the franchise fees, shared revenue again, grants, The ambulance reimbursement, so far based on last year's number, we are down about $150,000. Investment earnings, the fines, court costs, construction permits, a lot of the reimbursements we have for the health department providing their services, the drop-ups fees, and then the not charging for water utility late fees. So then that gets you into this total cost minus the redirected. So you're at 785, almost 786,000. Any questions on that? I went through it very quickly, but like I said, it's very rough.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. This is Alderman Stefanski.
Sure, Alderman Stefanski, go ahead.
Rebecca, the one cost that's very disturbing to me is the $75,000 for the stopping of parking violations. Is that a estimate of what's been missing, what's been missed so far, or is that an estimate until we're guessing when this thing ends?
It looks like, I didn't put that one in there, but it looks like it's for all of April and May. So it looks like the total estimate. I don't know if.
So it's $75,000 just in April and May that we're missing out on for that?
That's what the information there states, yes. I don't know for sure. I didn't verify. I don't know if Chief Mitchell or Peggy are on, if they have any more information on that.
Yes, this is Chief Mitchell here. It was just a rough estimate of lost revenue from not issuing night parking tickets. We still continue to issue tickets for handicap. And you are correct, that is an April and May estimate. So each month that it continues, actually I want to retract that. It's about a March 15th to May 15th estimate. And it would obviously go up if it continues longer.
Okay. And any other discussion or questions on this part?
Mr. Chair, Alderman Haas.
Yep, Alderman Root.
Early into this, the Evers administration declared Wisconsin a disaster area, so we were eligible for federal disaster aid. Is any of this going to go towards offsetting any of these losses, i.e. like the overtime? As just one example, that was.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Please go ahead.
From what I understand, the FEMA reimbursements likely won't be assisting us at this time with revenue losses, but things like overtime and other things that are directly related to the COVID response and our emergency responders, those likely we would get a 75% reimbursement. There's been a lot of discussion regarding reimbursement for elections because there's a big push to do the absentee ballots, and the costs of doing that are substantial given the printing and mailing that's was very unforeseen. That none of those would be allowed for reimbursement. The only thing that's allowed right now for elections would be the cleaning of the polling sites during that day. So yes, we will be getting a reimbursement for some of this, but likely not all of it for sure, and only 75% of the things that we would get reimbursement for. I know there's also a movement underway to try to get other things reimbursed, like the elections. The municipalities are going to be asking the state for that type of thing, but I'm not sure how successful we'll be with that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Vitale.
Yeah, I would like to go back a little bit about the lost revenue of the overnight parking. The fact stands that I've been talking to a few people, of course, on the East End, you know, and many of those people right now, a lot of them, they're laid off. I mean, many people, they don't have no jobs. Just right on Fillmore, I talked to two young guys. I see them, he says, well, we lost their job right now, we're not working. So if those people really, they're parking outside overnight right now, you know, I mean, I know it's loss for both sides, you know, that's law. Right now, there's many laws in many sectors of this country, not just about the parking. Fine, we're losing money, but there's people right now that hurt out there with families, that they have no jobs, they gotta pay their rent, they gotta pay their, whatever their expenses are, you know, and that's why, I mean, I felt strong when Chief Patrick came forward with that proposal with our administrator, Rebecca Greel, just as well. So to me, I think it was a good gesture for the city, for all of us to do something like that. So that's why I felt strong about it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any further discussion or questions on this before we move on to the proposals that I think everybody has received already that Ms. Grill has put forward that's part of the resolution in item 9?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Stefanski.
I would just like to make a comment. I understand the issue with people being laid off about as far as the parking is concerned, but that still doesn't mean people can't move their car from one side of the street to the other at night. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. And then Ms. Grill, if you wanted to go ahead and there, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Sure. I sent earlier today, I believe, a list of things that proposing that we could do to help alleviate or mitigate the loss of revenue and increased costs. The first recommendation is to do a hiring freeze for all positions, exceptions to be made by the Administration and Finance Committee. Right now, I believe we're 23 positions short in Public Works, and we are in the hiring process for some of those, and then 6 other positions outside of Public Works. So likely you would see a few of these requests before the Administration and Finance Committee, but we would be vetting them and seeing if we could do something differently instead of hiring them before we came to the committee. Do you want me to just go through all of them and stop if someone has a question, or what's the preference?
Yeah, I think that we've had a chance to review it. I think I'd rather just turn it over to the rest of the council and give alderpersons the opportunity to have any express any questions or concerns.
Okay.
So are there any questions or concerns for Ms. Grill on the item before us?
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Vitale.
Yeah, really, I don't have no questions. I think it's very specific. What's really, again, what occurring, you know. So I believe, Rebecca, I think you should put this mitigated effort to find some ways to kind of hold the expenditures and try for us to survive really just as well. You know, to me, it's all the 1 all the way to 9. I mean, that's a hell of a good proposal that she put together. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Then can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, so move. Alderman Lysick.
Second by Alderman Weigel.
We have a motion from Alderman Lysick and a second from Alderman Weigel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And then item 10 is a communication from the city administrator regarding city hall operations and alterations to address safety and security concerns and the streamlining of operations. Ms. Grill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You should be seeing a drawing on your screen now that Mr. Liskinsky put together for us. This is something I had talked about last week, basically changing the front area of City Hall to create more of a customer service center, lobby area where we can assist customers, have people there that can really help them, hopefully do things online, have an area where we have a few people that are actively answering phone calls too, not only helping the people that are coming into the office, but answering phones, help alleviate the need for people to use phone trees, which can be pretty frustrating and not very customer service friendly. So this area basically moves all of the front office functions of the departments to the front lobby. And I don't know how in-depth you want me to go with like the door locks and the studs, or I think, you know, that kind of thing is pretty self-explanatory, but I don't know if there's any specific questions. We don't have tomorrow morning, Ed and I'm going to try to be here at 7. We're meeting with Tom K-Fish to put together pricing on this, but I just wanted to keep this moving forward. Obviously, if it's a very costly thing, I would definitely bring it to the committee again and the council on the 19th. But at this point, I don't know what it's going to cost. So I guess just looking for the keep going ahead from the committee at this time. And I don't know if you want to put any parameters on costs. If it's less than $10,000 or 20 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if we have necessarily any parameters at this time, and that will be a part of our discussion going forward, because there are just too many unknowns at this point. That's my thought, and if someone else feels differently, I'm glad to hear that. However, the other part too is, we're displacing, the human resources here. Where does human resources go? But I know that's also to be determined as we move along. And so I'm okay with that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we're having discussions about where people should be located and moving people around to make more sense about where they can provide the services or who they work with most often and that kind of thing. So we're having those discussions internally. Thank you.
Yeah, so the consensus, or is someone trying to be recognized?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question.
Yeah, Alderman Weigel.
So when the public comes into our building to interact with staff, we're going to try to get it all to happen in this space. Unless, of course, they have an appointment or something like that to go up to engineering or something. And I'm just wondering if the public wants to use what we would call the public restrooms in our building, they're going to be behind the locked area, right? So that they're going to have to be buzzed in or let in through that door on the bottom of the picture here to use either men's or women's room. Now they're essentially within the you might call the safe area of the building. So that would be one concern I have. Also, the flow, everybody going to the treasurer's office has to go through that. You go through one room to get to the other two rooms. That flow just was difficult, especially on tax paying season. When I know the lines aren't what they used to be with so many people paying other ways, but there's still a lot of people who pay their tax bills in person. And I imagine on that, for that crunch week or whatever, some other accommodation can be made. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, maybe I could explain a little bit more. For the bathrooms, we're trying to minimize the cost. Obviously, if we were going to be putting in a little bit more, we would probably turn the women's toilet area into a unisex bathroom and the men's into a unisex, and then have the women's have a door coming out into the lobby. But because we're trying to keep this low, we would just escort or let them in to use it if they needed to. Regarding the treasurer, that is marked, that's where the actual deputy treasurer will sit. The treasurer activities would actually be occurring at the window in the front.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And then during tax time or things like that, we would, if we needed to, we could open up the doors, and where the clerk's counter currently is, we could have additional sites there, or we could have them in the lobby, depending upon the volume of people.
Okay, thank you.
So is
Mr.
the
Chairman.
consensus, oh, Alderman
Alderman
Vitale,
Vitale.
go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to, guess something just crossed my mind. We went one time to Oak Creek City Hall, and basically really, I know it's a new structure, a new City Hall, but the way I see it, they have this same concept that people doesn't just walk in and say, go upstairs to the engineering department just freely, just come and go. I mean, anybody can just go anywhere, So Oak Creek has the same concept, I believe. And to me, I mean, it goes with security just as well, because today's standard, the way life is, and things, the way it happens, to me, it's not a bad idea. I mean, of course, we don't know the cost yet, but Oak Creek, I believe it has the same concept. You can just walk in and go anywhere, I mean, there is 3 people when you come in, like in the areas of customer service, and that's it. You can just go anywhere, just by going to their, into any offices within the City Hall there, So that's why I think, I mean, I feel comfortable. That's a hell of a good proposal, really. But again, we have to see the cost, that's all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Vitale.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Alderperson Keene.
With that diagram that you were showing from where the client customer service area was, then you had the men's room, and then you had the safe behind it, and I showed demolition of one wall, but that's still a keypadded area, correct? So you have like the men's toilet. It looks like there's a door that might be able to take you back there. Is that keypadded or?
Here, this one,
Nope, the other one.
this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone goes to the men's room, could they, if you let them in, could they walk behind there?
the men's room, they would be coming out the front area here.
Oh,
So
I see.
we don't, there's doors here, so
Okay, that
yeah.
makes sense. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? And so I'm looking for a consensus from the Administration and Finance Committee and the rest of the council that we want to proceed on this and find out how much it's going to cost us. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move
Alderman
that,
Lysak.
the staff be instructed to proceed and come back with a cost estimate on what this is going to cost us, because I think it's a very important that we do this.
Okay.
Second,
So-
Weigel.
Well, this is a communication, so can your motion be to approve and with you?
Approve and place on file.
And place on file? Yep.
Second for Weigel
Thank you.
also.
Okay, yeah, the motion is to approve and place on file. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And are there any other items to appropriately come before the Administration and Finance Committee? Seeing none, then can I have a motion to adjourn Administration and Finance?
Move to adjourn Administration and Finance, Weigel.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, the Public Works Committee will come to order and all 5 members are present. And I will entertain motions at any point while I'm reading these resolutions, or you get to hear them all the way through. Resolution accepting, item 11, excuse me, resolution accepting work of Musson Brothers, Inc. for installation of connection liners in the sanitary sewer system at various locations within the city of West Dallas.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second, Reinke.
Okay, there's been a motion and then second is, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, item 12 is resolution accepting the work of MJ Construction, Inc. for the installation of concrete curb and gutter, concrete pavement, miscellaneous walk repair, driveway replacement, sanitary sewer relay.
Motion to approve.
second,
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
second.
Second.
Okay. Well, we'll let Rebecca Grill figure out who seconded that. Okay, there's been a motion to approve. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, then we jump down to item 13. Resolution authorizing and directing the city engineer to pay for sanitary sewer lateral repairs at 2057 South 59th in the total amount of $1,896.26.
So moved.
Approve.
There's a
Second.
motion for, okay, and a second. All in favor of item 13?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Opposed, and the motion carries. Okay, now we have item 14, resolution to approve bid of Pro Electric Inc. for the conversion of street lighting from high voltage series to low voltage parallel.
Motion to approve.
Okay, there's a
Second.
motion to approve. Is it-
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that motion carries.
Dan, you gotta ask for a discussion.
Pardon me?
Got to ask for discussion.
Oh. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman Stefanski.
Pete, or is this Pete or Dave that's part of this one?
Pete's here.
Pete, the cost of this, is this something that we've allocated for already, or is this something that we're gonna have to look at possibly cutting back some of it on due to our finances that we're gonna be occurring, or lack of finances we're gonna be incurring?
I believe that's budgeted already.
It was budgeted and it's actually well under the estimate, so
Okay,
being a couple $100,000 with the good bids that we got. Very good price on this.
all right,
So,
just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Actually, Alderman Stefanski, the second place bidder was 200 grand higher on this one, so we did okay on this one.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, we ought to keep their name for the next one. Okay, now we go to item 15, communication from city engineer regarding driveway permit application at 9015 West Maple Street.
So
This is
moved.
the, it's been
Second.
moved by Alderman Spassky and
Grisham.
seconded by,
Grisham.
okay, thank you.
Sorry, I should say
Any,
move to be put on file. Sorry.
thank you.
Approve and place on file.
Approved and placed on file. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you.
I make a motion that we adjourn Public Works.
Second. Grisham.
All in favor for adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.
There's no safety and development meeting this evening.
Mr. Mayor. I have License and Health Committee, all the members are present. So we have 16 and 17 is about the ordinance amend section 9.0221 A and B of the West Dallas Municipal Code relating reductions of fees for Class B alcohol license. I believe 16 and 17. But I would like to see that we move forward with the license B, the reductions of 25%. So any questions from the license committee members?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I was looking at this the last time we had discussion, and I brought up a couple points. This is obviously just for liquor licenses, But we as License and Health, we have a lot of licenses within our city and a lot of businesses have been impacted. So my concern with this is that we set a precedent right now that we're giving a reduction in fees to particular businesses over the next. And if we do approve this, and I've only had 2 phone calls from business owners in our area. One particular was in 3rd District, a bowling alley. So are we looking at reducing fees for all licenses then that are impacted by COVID and our shutdowns? And I think that's a valid point for consideration. Not that I wouldn't want to be supportive of the restaurants and bars that have been impacted, but in the best interest of the entire community, we have bartenders, we have a multitude of businesses that are licensed. So that would be my point of consideration, and if we could have discussion to that.
Mr.
Sure.
Chair,
So any questions from any other members?
Mr. Chair, I got Alderman Stefanski.
Yes.
I've also heard from business owners, and I learned that Milwaukee has actually made their licensing, waived their fees for this year. And a couple other communities, from what I've heard, I didn't get specific names, but a couple other municipalities around the area have done the same. And I'm thinking that we should maybe consider making those fees waived for this year, because we have no idea when this is going to end. So if we put it at 25% now, what happens if it goes 2 more months or 3 more months? Now we're almost 50% of the year done. So I'm wanting to have discussion on waiving the fees.
Yeah, Alderman Staseski, the fact it is that if we waive entirely the fees, like we talked about prior, that the A licensee, we will not really do anything to reduce a fee for them because they have been operating just as well, on a daily basis, 7 days a week. So they not really have been impacted by this coronavirus, by just like any other business. So that's why I feel that we could really do something for the licensee of B just as well. I mean, if you guys decide to have the C go along with that, I mean, I have no problem with that. But if you want to stick with just with the B, with the 25%, because once they come up due for the licensee, July 1st, well, then the license will go through January of next year. I mean, we could do that too, just as well, I believe. So, and to me, it would be a good gesture for the city, but not pay the entirety of the fee, not paying at all. Well, I don't know if we can do that, but again, that's for discussions, and that's consensus of the committee and the council just as well. So, so that's the questions that I put on the table, and I feel comfortable with that 25% reduction.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up. I should have corrected myself when I was talking. I'm meaning the ones that have been out of business or have very little business that they can do, such as the Class B licenses. But I was agreeing with Alderwoman Grisham on licenses that are affected by other businesses that can't work right now. And I think those should be taken into consideration as well. I agree with you on the Class A. The Class A is continuing to be able to be open and continue to do business, but not Class B licenses. So I'm looking to include what Alderperson said as well.
Well, like I
Mr.
said,
Chair.
yes, go ahead.
If there's any consideration of reducing fees further, just want to clarify that a Class B beer license has no minimum, but there is a $50 minimum for a Class B liquor license.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
did we arrive at a figure of what this reduction of costs would equate to?
Well, we don't have the figure, but maybe Rebecca, she could,
Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen. So I put together, I got from finance the revenues that we had received for each of the different license types for the last 3 years. And so for 2019, we recouped 77,625. So if we use that estimate, we'd be only receiving the 58,000, and 19,406 would be lost. And then for the operators are they're biannual license, so they expire every 2 years. And then I think 2020 is the lower year, so use the estimate for the 2018. And then Class B beer, we only have 10 of those, so the reduction would be 275. So if you were to do all of these, it would be almost $26,000 at the reduction of 25%.
So any question for
Mr.
Rebecca?
Chair, this
Yes,
is Alderperson Keen.
please.
For the operators license, or even any of them, what about those who have already paid? Would there be a reimbursement? Then what are the costs of issuing those checks? Are you mailing them out? Is there cost behind that? Would it be taken off of the next year's?
Well, that's one thing it could be discussed just as well, you know, I mean, if we can minimize the fact of, you know, giving some reductions just as well. So it's a
Mr.
good
Chair?
point. Yes,
So the way it would work at this point in time is anyone who has already paid the fee and gotten their license issued, they paid the fee at the time and would not be able to get reimbursed on that. Any licensees who have not yet paid the fee would pay the new rate.
thank you, Kel. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Um,
Stacy.
what is the license fee for, say, a place like that's a bar and grill where they serve food besides? Do they have to pay an additional license fee for food?
Food peddler.
Yes.
That's additional, I believe that's additional license for the food. So I don't know exactly how much amount really is.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Relative to what Tracy's saying, and this was my point, where do we stop? And where does this set a precedent that there could be in relation to, okay, there's favoritism toward a restaurant or bar owner or special privileges given in a time that even though we're all suffering, they're still deemed essential. And that was my point prior to. There's businesses that require licensure that cannot even operate. And that's my concern. I mean, this is a substantial amount of money that we're going to waive, but I would look at it as, well, who's the next group that's going to come forward, and are we going to take that on as a committee as well? And that's just a point of consideration for this.
I mean, you're referring to various business in West Dallas, which, I mean, they have a license, but it's not related to the liquor license, or just? I mean,
Yes,
you're talking-
yes.
oh,
I mean, there's
It's not related
multitude
to-
of revenue that we generate by licenses.
So the fact is, I believe if we could do something like this, because we do provide the service, the licensee for those local business here. You know, that's why, but if it's somebody else that has a different type of business without really having anything to do with the city of West Dallas, you know, I mean, they just have probably, I mean, a food license. It could be just serving food without any liquor per se, you know, no beer, no alcohol, nothing at all. Well, I mean, that's something could be probably look into it, you know, I mean,
Sure.
that's a hard one, really. To follow.
We have to keep in mind, there's many of these businesses, and I've heard of a number of them that said if they can't open up by the end of May, they may close. And it's because they can't do the normal service that they're doing on a regular basis, usually. And that's something we need to take into consideration when we're looking at these license fees. And since we have no idea when we're going to be able to open these businesses up again, it's something to take into consideration. If they're not being able to even operate, which some of them are not, why are they paying a fee if they can't even open their business?
So,
Mr.
so you're,
Chair?
yes, go ahead.
I don't think we'd be fiscally responsible if we waive the fees. I don't support that at all. However, I do support the reduction of 25% of these fees because a lot of bars and restaurants are hurting. A lot of them have curbside pickup, obviously in call-ins. However, this cushions somewhat the loss that they're experiencing at this time. So I would support the reduction in fees of these two ordinances.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We aren't being fiscally responsible by taking away parking restrictions and fees like that either. So what's the difference if we do this with license fees or we're doing it with parking fees? So that's fiscal responsibility on both ends. You can't have one or the other.
So your suggestion is, or your proposal, Alderman Stefanski, is that you would like to waive the entirety of the annual licensee fee? I mean, that's your suggestion?
Yes, my suggestion is anybody with a Class B license, anybody with a food operating license that cannot operate to their full capacity, and any other businesses such as what other licenses that cannot open their businesses right now, and Alderperson Grisham could probably help me with that.
Well, if I may, Chairman,
Yes.
I have a small list of our licenses that we provide within the city of West Allis. There's bar owners, salvage recycling, bartenders, pawn dealer, amusement, arcade, bowling alley, entertainment club, food peddlers, shooting galleries, body piercing, tattoo, check cashing, and jewelry. And that's just some of the list. And that's what I was saying. Okay, so if we waive these fees, then what precedent did we set? And why aren't we waiving all those fees for anyone who's impacted? So we have to make decisions here in a committee that I would look at if I'm a resident and taxpayer here is, why does this one get that, but the other one does not? And it's relative to what Alderman Stefanski is saying is, okay, we're waiving parking fees, but now we're going to waive like liquor fees. Where are we going? Everyone's suffering here. And I'm looking for, like I said, discussion on this. I'm open to the 25%, but I also want everyone to consider where this is going to go here forward or potentially.
Well,
And it's going to cost us a lot more money, I think, in the end, because you have to look at it in fairness.
so the question that you have, why is going to be cost more money to the city? I mean, in relations of the other, agencies, other small business, which they have maybe a food license, or like I said, a place where they do piercing, or so which they have more state licensing. They're not local licensing, those people, right? So in many ways, we don't really have control over them, but with the licensing, we controlling that, we can, and really all the businesses bring something forward for our community. I'm not disregard that, but the fact is, as long as we have control on the licensing, I believe it's something, a good gesture to minimize at this point the 25%, to reduce that. If the council, the committee wishes to table this, well, that's the way it should be. That's the process of the democracy. That's up to us. If you wanted to pursue it, we can have a motion on the table here to pursue the 25%. And I believe some discussions were already heard, how we all feel about it. So, and that's why I think we should have an emotion on the table here to move either way, to amend it, the present fees for the licensee B, and That's what I want to hear. If there's an emotion on the table to move forward with the reductions of the 25%.
Mr. Chair, just to
I'm-
be clear, I would be in favor of the 25% at this juncture.
Okay,
I move to approve 16 and 17 with a reduction of fees for Class B alcohol licenses and operator licenses.
any seconds?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just to clarify, this is gonna have to be an either or motion, so either the first or second one would be moved. Since operators licenses were included, I'm assuming that means that Alderperson Ranky is motioning to approve the second version.
the second version, not the first one. You're right, Gil. The second one, number 17. Item 17, I mean,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
would you entertain a comment from a non-committee member?
sure, anytime.
Obviously, this is an issue I've been following closely, and I think the original 25% number was brought to the committee because it was looked at as, at this point, the business is already, we've lost 25% of a calendar year. And that's where that 25% number came from.
You're right.
I think the reality is that even if this COVID thing gets wrapped up quickly, the bar and restaurant business is different from many other businesses because it actually relies on social closeness. If we open under these phased plans that we've been seeing, even when the all clear is gone, there will be some sort of limit on establishments' capacities, whether it's 25% or 50%. You also have to take into consideration what people's willingness is going to be to go into large groups and sit down and interact with strangers literally feet away. So, and that's really the nature of the bar and the restaurant business. People like to be in places where other people are at least have in the past. So I understand it's going to have a fiscal impact of 100% waiving, and that's I think that's pretty far to go. I've always asked what our neighbors do, and I think we've seen some examples. And yes, my research has shown that Milwaukee is completely waiving the Class B fees. South Milwaukee has lowered their fee from $600 to $100. Those are both very generous, I think. I personally, if I was making a motion on this, I would be waiving just for the Class B fees, 50%, because I think the reality is the people in this business are going to see a very bad 6 months. Even if we went back to work today, the effects of this are going to linger. And I also want to make sure that do people understand how this works. So the Class B licenses all renew on July 1st, but the operators licenses, people have those renewed at any and all times. So it's actually very convenient now to do this with the Class Bs because it's going to affect all the Class B licensees in the cities. But if we, and I assume this would just be for this year, but I don't know that you want to do the operators again because you're going to be giving that discount to some people and not others, or you're going to be burdening the clerk's office with the owner's task of either people, oh, I paid my fee last month and you tell me I had to pay the 100%, or giving them some sort of, check back or something. But I believe the city attorney said that wouldn't be reasonably expected anyways. And then one more comment, the issue of precedent has been brought up. And I think the word precedent is often used as a legal term. And I'm going to defer to City Attorney Decker on this, but I don't think we'd be setting a precedent. Well, yes, someone could make a claim, hey, I have a car wash or whatever other licensed business we have, but we would not be, I don't believe we'd be required to extend this benefit to everybody based on a legal rule, based on the law. Is that correct? Well, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Thanks. You say you want a question from Attorney Gale?
Just confirming that, yes, if there's a
Yes.
reduction in any one particular license, it does not require legally a reduction in any other particular license. There's a discretionary call for the council to make under certain circumstances like this. I know Alderperson Grisham listed off several licenses. Some of those are actually license fees set by state law that we can't even
Yes.
change. So like a
Yes.
pawnbroker is a license fee we can't change. So depending on what their interest is in the council, I would tell you which ones we can change and to what extent.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Road.
Alderman Road.
so the motion is 25% off of the upcoming July 1st, 2020 at 25%, correct? That is the
Correct,
motion on the
correct,
floor.
correct, correct.
And Alderman Weigel is really in favor or leaning towards the 50% reduction.
50%, yes.
Is that what I'm hearing from you, Alderman Weigel? Apparently, he's left the room.
No, I'm back. Yes, that was. But I guess the question is, since I am one of those licensees, should I even be making this argument? I guess that would.
No, but I, if I may, Mr. Chair, I look at you as not being a spokesman, but being a representative of the tavern, the bar and tavern industry. I look forward to your input on many issues involving the tavern business. So,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Alderman
I just received a message that a projected for a year from the Wisconsin Restaurant Association, 60% of the max revenues, they'll receive 60% of their maximum revenues due to COVID. So they're going to lose a bunch of money. Just so you guys know.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Alderman Lysak.
Mr. Chair. I agree with Alderman Weigel on the reduction. I think it should be greater than 25%. I think when things get back to normal, and I have that in quotes, restaurants and taverns are going to be required to have social distancing. I've talked to several restaurant owners that said if they have to open at 25 or even 50% capacity, it isn't worth it for them. They're not going to make enough money to pay their staff on that basis. They just soon stay at carry out then, where they don't have the staff to pay. So they're going to be suffering for quite a while. I would rather see us reduce the Class B licenses by 50%, but not touch the operators' licenses. I think that is going to be, as Marty said, a nightmare for the clerk's office. And by the way, Alderman Weigel, I do think that you probably should recuse yourself from this, since you ultimately could be a benefactor on whatever vote this goes. I know it isn't a lot of money, but it's still, I think, something that you probably should be recusing yourself on. I'll let that up to the city attorney to opine on that. But I think that the committee would be better served to change it to 50% and eliminate the operators portion of it. In other words, I'd say act on the first one, item 16, and not 17 on this, because it's just going to be very cumbersome with the operators' licenses being over a 2-year period. It's going to be really difficult to reimburse those people, or and there's so many of them that come and go. People don't renew their licenses. Sometimes they're not even paying for them in many instances. If they're good bartenders or regular bartenders, the tavern operator pays their license for them. So I think the money is better served going to the tavern operators and saving our clerk's office a big hassle.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alderman Lysak. I think it'd be a lot of complex moments for the city clerk.
Mr.
For
Chair,
a while. Yes. Alderman Shazzy.
I agree with any reduction, but I want to get on record that I support it going farther. So I'm still going to vote for the reduction, but I want to see it go farther.
So the questions it is now for Alderperson Reinke. The would you
withdraw.
amend your motion of 25 and go to 50%?
Well, I withdraw my motion
Yes.
and make another motion to have the reduction of fees for Class B alcohol licenses to 50%.
Mr.
Item-
Chair,
And
Item
eliminate the
Item
operators.
16, item 16, right?
Yes.
Item 16, okay?
Yes.
So your motion is to move forward with the 50% reduction for the B licensee. So any questions, I believe, from any committee members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
my question would be actually circling back to Alderman Weigel's pointing out other licenses that are state versus city. So I would like to defer to Mr. Decker. What other licenses would fall in that category for reimbursement, if so impacted by COVID?
So the city would be limited by whatever range is allowed by state law. So in this case, because it's alcohol licensing, there's a pretty broad range. The city has to set these fee amounts. Pawnbroker, secondhand dealer licenses, those are actually set fees that the city would not have the ability to change. I would have to go through the whole list of all licenses and verify which ones are allowed for the city to set the number and which ones the state sets. I do believe restaurant licenses are all set by state as well. A lot of them are. It's kind of unusual that cities are given a little more discretion to set alcohol licensing fees.
Okay, thank you.
And for what it's worth, to Alderman Weigel's point, or the question that Alderman Lysick brought up, this is a generally applicable law. And so I wouldn't find there to be a direct conflict for you voting necessarily, or Alderman Weigel voting on a general licensing law as far as from a criminal or ethical standpoint. However, every other person has to make their own decision on whether they want to vote on something and give the appearance of preferential treatment. You would absolutely be able to abstain from a vote if you felt like you wanted to do so.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to note on record that that is why I question this, is because I believe in fairness. Everyone is suffering in the city, and I don't want it to be appearing to any constituent that there is preferential treatment to any one business over the next. However, I do support that there is some relief given to the businesses in our city.
any other questions from the committee members? If I don't hear any additional questions, the motion was to, by Alderperson Reinke, a 50% reduction for the license fee. I would like to hear a second. on that.
Second, Road.
Okay, Alderman Rhodes, seconded. All in favors, say aye.
Aye.
So, noes? So there's no noes, so the aye have it. Thank you. So item 17, I believe we're going to place it on file.
Move to place on file, Ranky.
Second, Grisham.
Okay, all in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
The aye have it. Thank you. Then we have item 18, the license applications, operator, bartender, clerk, license application for 3 gentlemen. So is any questions in regard to those license applications? Do we have any member like to hear if there's any records that those 3 applicant has? So maybe Attorney Decker will be able to give us some feedback on that.
You're talking about the applicants here?
Yes,
I don't have anything other than the fact that they're recommended for approval at this time, based on
Yeah.
the committee's actions.
yes, that's, so any members has any more questions? I'd like to hear a motion of approval. Item 18.
Move to approve the application.
Second,
Right.
Grisham.
All in favors?
Mr.
Aye.
Chair,
Yes,
just to make sure to double check to call if there's any discussion on this item.
sure. That'll be fine.
I don't know if it has any.
Okay.
I have no discussion.
I'll just, anybody else? Again, all in favors, says aye.
Aye.
The aye have it. So I believe I need an emotion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the license health committee.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I think you have to go back to your items 3 and 4 that you didn't act upon, or they were acted on to the last meeting.
yeah, we did, yeah, so I mean,
You didn't
I
act
was
on those
gonna,
yet. Yeah, you gotta act on them now, because you didn't do it before.
well, I didn't do during
He's just
the,
got to report them.
Yeah,
so we got 2 items.
Correct. You have to clear them.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
We already
So
acted.
so actually, we place those item 3 as to place it on file, and 4 just as well. That's police department report regarding tyrants violation call for service for the month of March 28th. So I believe the License and Health Committee did approve at the regular meeting held April 28th, 2020. So that's why I was going to read it out at the at the license and health report meetings.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I was gonna do.
Yes, action was taken on April 28th on those two items.
Yeah, so that's why, so there's an emotion to present, but we act upon already, right, Kel? I mean, we vote on already. So there's
We
nothing,
voted.
yeah.
Yeah,
there's-
so,
there's
Mr.
no-
Chair, I think we can adjourn,
Yeah, we can adjourn then.
correct?
Second? The ayes
Second,
have it.
Grisham. Aye.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Advisory come to order. Let the minutes reflect that all members are present. Number 19 on the agenda is amendment to limit positions required to file financial disclosure. From my conversation with Rebecca, it was indicated that there are a lot of committee members that also have to file this disclosure, and it seems to be at this time not very necessary. Rebecca, are you there that you can confirm this?
Yes, I'm here. The
Would you
statement,
like to expand?
sure, and Cale can step in too if he has anything to add, but basically the way that this was written in the ordinance is that all members of boards, committees, and commissions were to be filing the statement of economic interest on the annual basis. And you'll note that we have numerous committees, such as the beautification committee, the event committee, the farmers market committee, and other committees like that, whose real authority doesn't have anything over a lot of decision-making and money, I guess. So there's really no need for them to file this. Additionally, there was a requirement that a lot of the deputies and assistants would be filing these, and they are working under the direction of the department heads. So having the department heads file these is felt to be sufficient. Cale, did you have anything else?
That covers the amendments in the first part. The second part is actually to clarify that the municipal judge does not have to file a statement of economic interest because that position actually files a much more detailed report with the state. And so it's unnecessary to file locally as well.
Are there any questions from the committee members regarding this? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Should move, Madam Chair.
It's been
Second,
moved, is second?
Stefanski.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 20 is a resolution to extend the emergency declaration in the city due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Rebecca, would you like to expand on that one? Rebecca?
Madam Chair?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair. I mean, I think that's basically just
Is that Attorney Decker?
Yes,
Would you
Madam
like
Chair.
to? Thank you, Attorney Decker.
Thank you. So this was, although Alderman Lysak listed the sponsor, it's only because he sponsored the original. This is one that I brought forward for the committee's consideration because the declaration by the council expires May 15th. And so I wanted the council to at least have the opportunity to review this again before it expires and decide on a date to extend it to. Right now, the resolution has a blank time as to how long the council would like to extend this, but I wanted to at least bring it forward. So whatever motion is made to approve would have to also pick a date to approve it to.
Attorney Decker, would we we would approve it in line with what the governor has recommended.
So the governor, it's a little different
May
because,
20, or is that different?
so it's a little bit different. So the governor's order for emergency declaration actually expires May 11th or May 12th. And then that cannot be extended by the governor. It has to be acted upon by the state legislature. And that's a totally separate thing that they have to do. The council, though, has the ability to extend it locally to whatever date the council deems the emergency to be applicable. And so that date of May 26 is actually something that comes from a different department of the state with different orders and regulations. So that would not be related to what we have to do locally. We can either end it or we could extend it. The main benefit of extending it would be to open up funding sources and to make things a little easier for our head of emergency management to make acquisitions as the need arises and things like that. So it's more related to resources and scheduling and things like that than it is imposing. There's no orders being imposed by this type of resolution.
Madam Chair,
Alderman Stefanski?
if we vote no to extend it, does that mean we can open businesses again? Attorney Decker?
No, because the emergency declaration is not what is keeping them closed at this time. That's a state order that's keeping them closed. So if it's extended, there won't be a difference. And even if the order in the state is lifted, yet we still say we're in a state of emergency, businesses could still open because this resolution does not order any closure and does not impose any penalties on anyone. It just simply declares the emergency for the sort of for the convenience of the head of emergency services to be able to acquire services and goods fast as needed, and also opens up the opportunity for additional funding from the state and from other resources.
Would that also open us up to more federal funding for businesses and things like that?
If a local emergency declaration is the prerequisite, yes, there are several programs like that. So without knowing exactly what you're saying, which ones you're talking about, I can't say for sure, but in general, having that declaration opens up more opportunities than not having it.
All right, yeah, I was just looking for reasons to extend it that would be beneficial and wanting to know if we could open businesses if we didn't extend it. So thank you.
Yes, if this resolution is extended, there are no additional imposition of prohibitions on any individuals or businesses.
At this time, do you have any recommendations for the committee?
Madam Chair, that date is something that is very specific to what the council would like to do. As a general matter, I would pick a date that is shortly after the next council meeting. You'd like to bring this back and review it. So if there is an interest in doing this until toward the end of May, you'd probably want to at least extend it out to the next council meeting on June 2nd. So something along the lines of June 3rd. Otherwise, something like June 17th. That way we're at least covering our days and allowing this to be reconsidered by the council without any lapse.
Madam Chair,
Alderman Grisham?
Kale, could we then rescind this if we extended it 3 months, for example? As it's been discussed among council members, we obviously know that the COVID is going to impact us for some time. And I would say, rather than revisiting it, we can always rescind it if that's the case. So I would make a motion to extend it by 3 months.
Okay.
The
I'll
motion
second
has
it.
been made by 3 months. And it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
Madam Chair, can I select the date then of August 5th?
So I make a motion to extend the declaration to August 5th.
Second it.
And real quick, just to be clear, if the state lifts the stay-at-home order, businesses can still open.
Correct. This resolution does not impose any restrictions on businesses or individuals.
Okay, thank you.
And as Alderperson Grisham suggested, it can be rescinded at any time as well.
Thank
So
you.
the motion is to extend the emergency declaration in the city to August 5th. And there was a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Number 21 is a reappointment of Judy Chapman as a member of the West Dallas Civil Service Commission under the guidelines of the ordinance pertaining to limitation on consecutive terms.
Move for approval.
Second, Grisham.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any more
Aye.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And number 22 is a discussion regarding polling locations and absentee ballots. I'm calling on Rebecca again to give us, you might say, heads up on what she has put together for the polling locations. Rebecca,
Thank
are
you.
you there, Rebecca?
I am here. I'm
All right.
hoping that you can see my screen here. This is
You can.
a map of what the current polling locations were for the April 7th election. We're anticipating that we will have a greater number of the voters doing absentee ballot voting. Right now, we have about 32,000 registered voters in the city of West Allis. Close to 19,000 of them are signed up for absentee ballots for the rest of this year. We have a drive underway to get that number up to 25,000. If we're successful, that will leave about 6,000 or 7,000 people that perhaps might be voting on election day, more likely in the November election than the August election. So we had, I'm going to pull up, so this is what it was for April 7th. This is what we're suggesting for the August and November meeting. I believe I sent this out to everyone before. Right now, there's a polling location at Longfellow. We'll be moving all of those to the rec center, moving some other sites to Central High School, adding an additional site to Nathan Hale, an additional site to Lane, not having anything at the senior center. So this is the proposed changes. I'm just looking for some consensus on if I should be bringing forward something like this to the next council meeting for consideration and a vote.
Thank you, Rebecca. First of all, do we have any discussion or do you have any questions for Rebecca on this
Madam Chair?
proposal?
I do, Alderman Sikansky. Rebecca, if we do this proposal in November, the schools are not in session that day for election day, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Then I would propose that Rebecca prepare a resolution for consideration at the next meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor of Rebecca?
Aye.
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 Any more discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
is it okay if the record just reflects accepted and placed on file for that motion?
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Decker. So it's been moved and placed on file. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
I make a motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Hey, Rebecca, are you done sharing your screen?
There we go. Thanks, Rebecca. We will now reconvene the Common Council. I will ask our clerk to call the roll. Actually, I don't see the roll call on here. So we will go right into new and previous matters, and we will go to the Administration and Finance Committee chaired by Alderperson Haas, and I will ask the clerk to read out the report from the Administration and Finance Committee. We did have a request to have separate action on item 5.
The committee recommended approval of items number 6 through 9, and then the committee recommended approval and placement on file of item number 10. And then, as you stated, number 5 had been requested for separate action.
So I'll ask Chairman Haas to make a motion to approve the committee's report.
I move the committee report.
Is there any discussion?
Second by road.
I don't think we need a second on these now because they did come out of committee per the last meeting.
I withdraw my second, Mayor Devine.
Thank you, sir. You're a good man.
Thank you very much.
On items 6 through 10. Is there
Number one, Alderman Roll.
If there's no discussion, I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll on items 6 through 10.
Alderperson Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
Rote,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Then we'll go back to item 5.
The committee recommended approval of item number 5.
And I move approval on item 5.
Thank you.
You'd like me to call the roll?
Yes, I'm still trained to wait for a second. I got to break that habit.
Second, Mayor. Mayor,
We don't need it though.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Alderperson Stefanski,
No.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Alderperson Keen, you're muted.
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
Rote,
Aye.
9 in favor, 1 opposed.
Item carries. Now we will go to the Public Works Committee. Alderman Rote. And the clerk can read out that report.
The Public Works Committee recommended approval of resolutions in items number 11 through 14 and approved and placed on file of item number 15.
And
I move for approval of the committee report in accordance of the committee report. I got that a little backwards, but you know what I meant.
Yes, we do.
Thank
We
you,
have a
Mayor.
motion. Thank you, Alderman Rote. Any discussion on the Public Works Committee report? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
Rote,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. That concludes the Public Works Committee, and Alderman Lysick gets a night off. We have no Safety and Development Committee this evening. So we will go right to the the License and Health Committee, which is chaired by Alderman Vitale. I will ask the clerk to read out that report.
The License and Health Committee recommended that items number 3 and 4 were placed on file. Number 16 has been requested for separate action. 17 has been placed on file. And then the applications in item number 18 were recommended granting by the committee.
I'll move for the approval from the committee report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Vitale. We have a motion to approve. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Carries. And now we have item 16.
Item number 16 is an ordinance to amend section 902 of the municipal code. It was approved with the amendment or passed with amendment to give the 50% reduction of fees for Class B alcohol licenses.
Mr. Mayor, approve the License and Health Committee report.
Thank you, Alderman. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine,
Oh, Alderman Stefanski.
on item 16, I just wanted to get out there. I felt we should go further, but I will still support the reduction.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Tenorio.
I do also think that there should be further reduction of fees, but I will support the 50% reduction on item 16.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
I abstain.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Frankie,
Aye.
Rote,
Aye.
9 in favor, 1 abstention.
The item carries. Thank you. Now we will go to the advisory committee chaired by Alderperson Frankie. And I will ask the clerk to read out that report.
The advisory committee recommended passage of number 19 and 20 and 20, and then reappointment in number 21, and then accepted and placed on file of item number 22.
Second.
Not again.
Not again.
Alderperson Ranky, you want to move that committee?
Yes. I move to approve the committee report.
Thank you. And Alderman Vitale is going to second it anyway, even though we
I'll
don't
second.
discussion on the advisory committee report.
Thank you, Mayor.
There is no discussion. I will ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Frankie,
Aye.
Rote,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Items carry.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick,
I move that we adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, Tuesday, May 19th at 7 p.m.
Back in.
Second, Grisham.
there's a motion with a second by Alderperson Grisham. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Bye all.
Okay.
Have a good evening.